Hello and welcome back. We are in round 3 of our card markets trial tournament. We are playing for over 2,000 euros in prizes. My name is Piotr Bomak.
My name is Piotr Głogowski, also known as Kanister.
And with this enthusiastic intro, let's go to the coverage of round number 3. So far, we've seen two control decks, two Esper control decks winning both rounds. One was a mirror, then we saw the Sultai matchup. So let's see what this round will bring. We've got two players. One of them is Jan Ksandr from the Czech Republic.
A Czech superstar.
Yes. And we also have Krzysztof Fryca, I believe. A Polish player from Pruszków, I believe. So let's see what these players bring to the table. All right. We don't have the deck lists yet.
Jerzy, who was just coming to the booth, to the table at which players were playing, is a true exemplar of all judge values that should be found in a Magic the Gathering judge.
Yes, he is very understanding, knows his rules very well, and is always helpful to the players. He doesn't look to punish, just educate. So that's what judges are for, really. Don't be afraid to ask a judge if you're unsure of something. Let's take a sneak peek. Oh no, do I see? Is that the mono blue deck?
Yeah, Jan is shuffling Krzysztof's deck. It is a mono blue deck. On the other hand, Jan is again playing in Esper control deck.
We can't seem to escape it.
With Karn, Sign of Urza as the win condition card. I guess you can produce construct to kill an opponent with Nexus of Fate in their deck.
When we talked with Wojtek, the winner of last round, he said that mono blue was his nightmare matchup because you just develop like a creature and then you just hold up interaction, and more often than not it's going to be enough to beat Esper deck.
Opinions vary on this one. Many players seem to prefer to be on the Esper side. Some people prefer to be on the mono blue side. It just depends on the sideboard too. The more cheap cards Esper assemble, the better it is for Esper. Specifically duresses that allow you to plan your turns ahead reasonably. So this game Krzysztof was on the draw, but has the dream start of a 1-drop monster into Curious Obsession, leaving 1 mana up to protect it with, I suppose, something.
Any spell like Dive Down or Spell Pierce would work here.
Yeah.
He's going to protect his hand this turn from the Thought Erasure.
That makes a lot of sense, since, not knowing what's in mono blue player's hand is actually a pretty huge setback for anybody who tries to defend themselves.
And also you want to get those spells into the graveyard for Terramander, because eventually you will be able to adapt it. Now additional protection from the Siren Storm Tamer.
Yeah, the way we will see Krzysztof play this game probably is to just try as hard as he can to protect the Terramander from dying and try to draw as many cards of it as possible. That should put Jan decently not ahead. What's the opposite of ahead?
Behind?
Behind. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you for that. And then you can just try to pace out your other threats. And, well, counter all of the things that you deem to be relevant.
So not much action so far from the side of the control deck.
Yeah, it seemed like Krzysztof didn't have any answers to Kaya's Raf.
Mm-hmm.
So very unfortunately for Jan, Jan didn't cast a Kaya's Raf. He didn't have any. So now Krzysztof is just going to go ham trying to protect the Pyramanda. You can see him placing another Siren Storm Tamer on the battlefield. He also drew an Obsession. There's a Merfolk Trickster in his hand, a Tempest Gen. So even a Chaos Wrath at this point is going to be pretty non-ideal because Krzysztof can easily follow up with end of turn Merfolk Trickster, Obsession it, attack for free, Drakeheart, play Gen, potentially hold up an extra interaction spell if he has access to.
Since none of that happened, Krzysztof is holding up all his options in hand. Doesn't play into, doesn't overextend into a sweeper. He's just gonna ride these creatures that he already has.
Yeah, even though Krzysztof's board might not look as threatening, it's just like 4 power and 3 small 1-drop monsters, one Venora slapped on it. It's actually extremely threatening, and it puts enough pressure on Jan to need to commit a lot of resources to answer that. You can see that he taps 4 mana for a Vraska's Contempt, which is going to be countered by just 1 mana with a Siren Storm Tamer. So now if it comes to those type of exchanges, the Esper deck is certainly going to fall behind pretty easily. Jan also has a copy of Syncopate in his hand, which is going to be incredibly weak right now. He needs to power a lot of mana into that for this spell to be effective.
The mono blue deck operates on very low mana costs, like the highest cost creatures are, I think, Tempest Gens. I don't know if this deck plays any Sphinx, because some of them do.
No, it's pretty atypical to see the Sphinx. From looking at the deck list of Krzysztof, I think it's just a 1-to-1 copy of Alexander Haynes' mono blue deck list that he used during last week to climb to spot 1 of the mythic ladder on MTG Arena. Since then, the deck became pretty common, and well, people are playing that because it has been proven to be decent.
Yes, and I was bringing up the mana cost because Jan has found actually a way to find a use for Syncopate. He overloaded the mana from Krzysztof by by playing spell after spell after spell. So
yeah, in the end though, Jan falls behind on
resources. And still hasn't dealt
just
with.
has so many more cards and 2 obsessions right now.
Yes, the Starmander is suddenly a 3/3, drawing 2 cards every turn. Now with multiple counter spells in hand.
You can see a sorcery speed up, but not necessarily. Maybe a Pteramander to add to the board. We have 2 threats. Probably wants to keep up the counter spell. Not even deciding to opt, which is reasonable given the presence of Syncopate in Jan's deck. Just safely opt end of turn. Try to find your extra and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 land.
A main phase as counter activation, trying to find something to at least try to climb back into this game. Mortify won't cut it, I believe.
Can try to mortify a Kyro's Obsession.
He could. That would cut the damage output from Krzysztof and also...
well, it would be countered by Wizard's Recharge.
Of course it would.
Would Krzysztof decide to actually play it? Kept an island on top because he wants to level up his mana base, yep. So it's chock full of cards. Yeah. He actually has too many cards. Like his problem is that, well, he's going to need to spend some of those to actually use the extra ones that he draws somehow. But that's a good problem to have.
It is. It's one of the better ones, of
in
course.
the game of Magic the Gathering.
So we know that at this point Jan's hand is just the Mortify that he got from the Ascanta. He let Krzysztof discard in a cleanup step.
How
Got
many
rid of a
cards has
mountain.
Krzysztof discarded?
Just one. Just the island.
It's extremely fine then.
But now we are in this spot where we're staring down a 3 power attacker. We are at 3 life points. We have to do something.
Curiously,
let's see.
Krzysztof didn't do anything end of turn.
He
That's
did not.
a lot of patience, but
So now we're going to see a counter war.
yeah. Jan also has an extra absorb on top of that.
He
So
does.
Jan actually managed to turn it
Turn it around, yes.
around to some extent, because now Krzysztof is tapped out,
Jan goes to 6.
and this is keep in mind, this is Krzysztof's upkeep. Jan goes to 6, gets to untap with Ascanta. Pretty well played by Jan. Of course, Krzysztof gets to add another threat because he has the 7th land and gets to play the Terramander, which will adapt for just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I assume 3 mana,
Then it will become a 5/5.
which is still not lethal in just one shot. So,
Yes.
given that Jan initiated that fight and managed to win it during Krzysztof's upkeep, and then top deck the Fairy,
This is getting interesting.
let's see if he's into attacking the Terramander. That makes sense. Now Krzysztof doesn't have a source of repeatable card advantage. Unfortunately for Jan, he cannot activate the scan at this turn.
Is it the time
pull
to
more
start
ahead.
dropping the Jins?
Well, probably.
There is one.
One thing that
There is two.
One thing that Krzysztof could have done when the huge upkeep fight has happened was potentially dropping a Merfolk Trickster before casting his Wizard's Retort, therefore reducing both of them to 2 mana and securing himself a threat on the battlefield in case something goes wrong and Jan has that extra absorb.
So we are seeing an Ascanta activation since the draw for the turn was another copy of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Jan didn't find a sweeper effect yet, I
He
believe.
did not.
Send his Chemisters inside and another Teferi, which might be not good enough to win the game. Both genes are lethal. So even though Jan tried his best, I think he's going to come up a little short of dealing with Krzysztof's threats.
So I thought Erasure revealed the 2-mana counter spell. I don't remember the name. That's blue counter target creature spell, and put a counter on
Essence
another
Capture.
creature. Essence capture. Okay.
At this point, there's nothing that Jan can
Yeah.
draw, and those decks don't play Settle the Wreckage, so there's nothing to be afraid.
So mono
of course,
blue
it's not
deck.
impossible for them to play
Mhm.
Settle the Wreckage, but it's just very atypical since Settle has so many bad things, so many downsides attached to it.
All right, so that is the first game of our third round. Third round of 7 total, because this tournament has attracted lots of players, over 70, fighting for that sweet prize pool of over 2,000 euros. So, yeah, let's talk a bit about the people who made this all possible. So, we would like to thank our sponsors. So, MTG Spot, the biggest single shop in Poland. If you want to pick up any cards, go visit their website. Also, their card market profile. They ship all over Europe, and they are pretty good at that. They are very professional, and they have good prices. So, definitely visit them. Also, Ultimate Guard, company that has supported our series from its inception. So every Paprikash Open we receive lots and lots of love from Ultimate Guard. We get sleeves, we get deck boxes, play mats, we get life pads, almost anything that you might ask for, and they have been nothing but great and helping us a lot. Also, Card Market EU, I think everybody knows that side. If you want to find all cards, any cards, so you just go there. You can also sell your own cards. So Card Market is the place for you to visit if you are interested in trading MTG cards. We have also added new sponsor to our suite, Runtime GG, producer of high quality products for active people. So if you want to remain healthy, get all the vitamins, and just keep up your energy while training, go visit their website. They support lots of people um, who are serious about training and about sports activities. So runtime.gg is your friend. Apart from that, we are also sponsored by or supported by psychotalk.pl. That's the biggest Polish website about MTG. We have also got support of that's the question. I always forget. I always forget the name. Yes, Świat Kawy i Herbaty, Dariusz i Jolanta Zadrożni. So they have prepared these awesome gift baskets for us with high quality tea and coffee that all players from the top of the tournaments are going to receive. Hello, that's us. We are going to stay with you up until late in the night and show you all 7 rounds of the tournament and the top 8. Alright, so there is one thing I would like to talk about these sideboards. Jan has 3 Cry of the Carnarium. He's really serious about dealing with aggro decks. Also, 2 copies of Vona, Butcher of Magan. 1 Basilica Bellhunt. Seems like pretty geared towards dealing with aggro decks. Is there anything interesting in the sideboard from the mono blue player?
Well, from Jan's side, Vona is kinda interesting. Have not seen Vona too frequently. Could argue that it's easier to cast Lyra in some ways, but Jan has access to Lyra as well, so it's not only that. He certainly wants to include that card for its pay 7 life, destroy target, non-land permanent ability, which I could see being decent against some decks. Not sure if it's the best suited against a mono blue aggro deck. Certainly worse than Lyra Dawnbringer.
It is worse. It is worse. Yes.
Cry of the Carnarium is kinda hit and miss. Hit or miss, I guess. It's not going to hit and miss at the same time. But it is dodgeable by, you know, it is a 3 mana card, so you can argue that you can spell pierce it, but that's true for most of the card in Jan's deck, and he's not going to board the entirety of his deck because it can be spell pierced. But it misses the gene of Tempest. It can miss a creature that has equipped a Curious Obsession. That's kind of a disaster at some points. If there is a Merfolk Trickster equipped with that. In other spots it's going to be decent, so we might see Jan boarding in some Cry of the Carnariums and Lyra Dawnbringer. Probably cutting down on some expensive stuff, probably also bringing in Duresses and trying to remove the more expensive top-end cards like potentially Chemister's Insights, maybe some Trims of the Fairies, more cards. You don't need those cards, and the way to go to lose to mono blue is to get overrun by their less powerful but more efficient spells. From Krzysztof's side, the cards that he could be interested in are some negates and potentially Search for Azcanta. I'm not entirely sure on the strategy around Search for Azcanta and whether you actually want it in a control-ish matchup, but I would believe that it is an interesting option.
And game two is underway. Jan on the play with Godless Shrine tapped. And turn 1 Terramander. Oh no, is it going to happen again? Thought Erasure says no.
Krzysztof has Search for Ascanta in his hand, so he indeed brought it. Probably going to be slightly unhappy if it gets taken, but not, you know, it's fine. He has a turn to play anyways.
Yes,
It's pretty hard to break up the curve of the mono blue deck since all of the cards are so cheap anyway, so that's not too often a consideration, but it's not going to be able to fight with his Search for Ascanta if Jan takes that. Jan might also ignore that and try to go after one of his threats, but given that there are 2 copies of the Djinn, less likely. So, because Krzysztof gets to play a Djinn on turn 3 anyways. So yeah, Jan goes after the most unique threat in Krzysztof's hand and takes care of Search for Ascanta.
simply passes the turn. No discard to surveil. He's happy with what's on the top of his deck, and Krzysztof should also be quite happy with what was on the top of his deck. It was a curious obsession, so...
Yeah, as they say about the Fossis type effects, you cannot discard the top card of the deck, and that rang true right now. Does Jan have a proper answer to murder the Curious Obsession wielding monster?
He does.
He does. He targets the Terramander, being pretty confident that, or I guess maybe not confident, but taking his chances, trying to miss a dive down or a spell pierce. It would require for Krzysztof to top deck exactly Curious Obsession into spell pierce, and it's not all that likely, so understandable choice.
Jan has both Kaya's Wrath and Vraska's Contempt in his hand, so this Djinn is pretty much covered. Oh, I misspoke. So he's gonna...
Well, I mean, Siren Stormtamer is another card that has not been known by Jan, so that makes Jan decently confident that his Chaos Wrath is likely to resolve nowadays. I assume that that is his plan. He also take one more hit now that he has drawn a Thought Erasure and try to combine Thought Erasure this or maybe the next turn and Chaos Wrath. This one is slightly tougher though, because Siren Stormtamer actually allows you to counter spells that are targeting you. So they could target a Thought Erasure.
Opt in response to Kaya's Wrath.
Krzysztof immediately taps 1 blue and just snaps a card, probably a hard, a moment that make Jan's heart pounding faster, but it turned out to be just a measly opt. Kept the card on top though, he kept a dive down.
Yeah,
Are we going to play a dive down protected Djinn nowadays?
It was like with those moments on MTGO where you play a card, you wish it to resolve, and then you see waiting for opponent to pay costs.
Oh yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
Jan gets to cast his Thought Erasure, break the Djinn protection, and then cast the Vraska's Contempt on Djinn. That will mean that Krzysztof is left up with a negate and a 2-2 in play. A 2-2 should be beatable by a control deck. Jan has a Search for Ascanta that will flip soon, so this can be negated and probably will, honestly. But that means that Jan already has a threat that's worth of countering, so doesn't need much to beat that, because Krzysztof is almost out of gas.
Just a
measly 1-1.
Yeah. Mistcloak Herald added to the board, so Jan knows exactly what he's up against, and that's just 1 copy of Negate. Let's see how he decides to play around that.
Just jump Search for Ascanta. Since he has a Chemisters inside, it is kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of a situation. You
And
really would like to counter, to make your opponent choke on mana and counter their relevant interaction pieces over card advantage engines as the mono blue player, but you can only buy you can only buy a limited amount of time by plays like this, and Krzysztof only has a 4 turn clock right now, if unimpeded in any way, so pretty hard for that to happen. Yeah, you can see that he protects his threats.
so Mortify ultimately met with the negate from hand.
And then even more 1/1 unblockable monsters.
So what now? Like, do you hope that Jan will find nothing to deal with those?
Yes, that's probably what you do. I mean, I guess Jan is kind of constrained on mana. Does he have a 8th land in his hand? I think he does not.
He doesn't.
He found a
Cry of the
Cry of the
Carnarium.
Carnarium. There was also a moment of creating before,
Yeah.
but Cry is obviously better, making Krzysztof's board non-existent. Also, Jan just handed the cards from Search for Ascanta for Krzysztof to shuffle.
He didn't have to.
He didn't need to, since Search for Ascanta actually allows you to put your cards on the bottom of your library in any order you choose, unlike Vivian Reed, which actually needs you to shuffle those cards. So that's probably where this confusion comes from.
Perhaps, perhaps. But now Jan is under all kinds of protection with Kaya's Wrath, with Search for Ascanta active, with more card drawing spells.
Yes, I believe Jan has this game in
He should be able to have it.
in the bag, in the proverbial bag.
He should be able to finish it off. It's just a matter of finding the finisher, like the actual card, like Teferi or Chromium.
Probably no Chromium Postword, even if you play it. He's not playing Chromium to begin
No,
with.
he doesn't have any. Yes.
Probably Lyra. Maybe Vona, Butcher of Magan, but as I said, unlikely in this matchup. Vona.
The mono blue player doesn't seem happy with how this game's been going.
Yeah, it is all but over. We have some brief technical problems with our
Vision.
screen.
We are back,
Okay, we are back.
and the game is over.
So we didn't really miss anything,
Yeah.
very fortunately.
So Jan managed to pick up game number 2. Let's see how the third one will play out. The mono blue player will be on the play, so there is this possibility of just slamming a creature turn 1, obsession turn 2, and riding it until victory.
This is a scary prospect indeed
It is.
for Jan.
I hate it when that happens to me. I always feel like
Yeah, I hate it when I'm the draw.
yeah, it's just like you're always playing against the odds, because they always have those options to protect their threats, and they draw into more and more of them. And if you wait, that means you are giving them time to stack up their hand. If you don't, then it turns out that you have just slammed your answers into counter spells
Oh
and
yeah. Like if you're on the draw and Mono Blue has the perfect draw, then you definitely feel like a buffoon for
Yeah.
just playing your cards, and none of them actually does a relevant thing throughout the entirety of the game. And then you're like, well, I'm not really happy with how that went. It could have been better, could have been nicer, but that's the nature of things. Like that makes decks like mono blue or like to lesser extent mono white Taxis decks in modern kind of frustrating to lose against because they always feel like as if they cheesed you out, but in actuality they are able to cheese you out with enough consistency, with enough frequency to actually be decentish decks. I'm sure that's the case for the mono blue deck. I'm sure that the mono blue deck in standard right now is decentish. I said that it's only similar, only little similar to the white decks in modern because I believe the white Daxus decks in modern are not actually good. They're kind of terrible. But
You
that's
heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
it's only my opinion.
All
I'm
right.
no expert.
No, no, you're no expert on mono white decks, but on various other kinds, yes, indeed you are. Rip KCI.
What I am supposed to say?
And I don't know. I'm just paying respects. Press F to pay respects.
I see.
But actually, I played against it only twice in real life.
Against Ironworks?
Yeah. So I'm 50-50. And lost. So.
Better win ratio against it lifetime than most people
Yeah.
and the planet combined, I would assume. If it ended up getting banned on, well, not necessarily most people, but the total number of wins and losses performed by KCI on high-level tournaments probably was better than 50-50 since it ended up getting banned partially on behalf of its results. So I would assume that would be the case. It'd be kind of lame to ban a deck that had a 49% win rate across the globe, across the timeline.
Yeah, this deck is too weak. Let's just ban it because we don't want people to fall into this trap. Just don't try. Okay, so we see a mulligan from Krzysztof.
Mulligans on the play are devastating.
They are, especially in a deck that relies on amassing this critical amount of cards. Like you want to have those creatures, and you want to have interaction, and you want to hit your land drops. So every card you're
actually
shard.
true, I guess. I mean, that's one way to view it, but on the other hand, you just need you just kind of need 3 cards to go off. 4 cards, a land, like 2 islands, a 1-drop obsession spell to protect the obsession. Then you kind of just go nuts. So you can definitely mulligan and win. Krzysztof mulligans to 5 though. 5 on the play is rough. I believe he had no lands in his hand, which
Is
might be
suboptimal.
might be a source of frustration. Or not.
I just don't.
Different players cope with that differently. I, for once, get extremely frustrated with hands with no lands. Almost get white from getting angry. Or red. I just get very angry.
Yeah, me too. Me too. No, it's one thing to lose because you made a mistake. It's another to lose because your deck did not cooperate. So that's one thing I wish we could improve on in Magic, so that less games are decided by factors like these. But we see that the hand of 5 is okay.
Blue, yeah, mono blue is actually, mono blue is a deck with a higher variance in its draw, so it's like rightfully getting punished more by mulligans than the Esper deck would, or a Sultai deck would, so it makes sense. No obsession though. So,
Second land.
no obsession makes your draw just infinitely much more manageable.
Jan decides to shock himself to play this Thought Erasure, sort of slamming this Merfolk Trickster.
Yeah, now Krzysztof needs to top deck well. The perfect scenario would be to draw an obsession into a Wizard Retort, probably. I see that Jan is ready with a Lyra Dawnbringer for turn 5. We will see whether he will have time to get there. Most likely he will. I cannot see the rest of the cards that are present in his hand. He just fought a little long on whether to keep his land or not.
I see there are a couple of lands. Might be a bit land heavy, but then
Well, you probably have 4 lands if you are debating whether to keep that Godless Shrine or not. Since you are wondering about Lyra Dawnbringer. He's shocking with a black land, so that's Cry of the Carnarium. It's pretty backbreaking right now, and it's going to be extremely hard to come back for
so
Krzysztof.
from the top.
Yeah, no monster from the top, so Jan is throwing lands somewhat consistently. Stands his Fodder Erasure, sees that there is no extra trouble in Krzysztof's hand. Krzysztof draws an island, again plays an island very quickly, passes. So I believe Jan will just jump Lyra Dawnbringer, check for retort, and if no retort, basically wins. It's not possible for mono blue deck. Like, the mono blue deck is very bad at coming back from behind. This is why I say that it always feels like a cheese duel. Because like it's really, you always feel like as if you were able to resolve that one thing, they will be so behind that you would never lose. But very frequently you are unable to resolve that one thing, and Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, prompts a concession.
So another Esper control deck picking up the win. Well, there are 4 copies of Teferi Hero of Dominaria, premium Teferi, in the prize pool for this tournament, so it only makes sense that the Esper decks are winning.
Yeah, Esper deck, Esper Control best deck confirmed, I guess, from
this
seeing
tournament.
the matches we have seen so far.
Yeah, exactly. So if you
No other contestants.
So if you plan to visit Szczecin, this is the area we're playing in. We are in this white building in Hotel Vulcan. No, we are not in the shipyard. We're not playing in the docks. Don't worry, we're safe.
Would you say that's the most inviting view that has ever been shown to a person?
No, I guess it's kind of terrifying, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's the industrial side. It shows the history of this city. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
The inside of the building is nice and cozy, and we get to play Magic the Gathering, which most people in the building like/love doing. So
Alright, so we are going to go on a bit of a break. We are going to have a winner's interview, I guess. And after that, we will have a longer break to bring you back coverage from round number 4, 4 out of 7. Stay tuned.